Hey, I'm Parsa Valdez, and welcome to Let's Talk Med. This podcast is all about the pre-med journey, medicine, and research with fun conversations between us and insights from med students and experts along the way. In today's episode, we're introducing ourselves, sharing a bit about the podcast, and talking about our high school experiences. Hey guys, welcome to Let's Talk Med podcast. This is our first session of the podcast to kind of introduce who we are and what the podcast entails. My name is Parsa Valdez, and I'll be your host, and my co-host, who is also my longtime friend, Jesse Beltran. So like I mentioned, you guys don't know anything about us. So I am a pre-med student at Santa Clara University. Kind of like to give you guys a little bit of background on who we are. I am the founder and president of MedLife, or the chapter here at Santa Clara. I'm also the philanthropy chair at the Pre-Med National Frontier Delta Epsilon Mu. I'm also involved in research. We'll be involved soon next quarter. And then super excited to be starting this podcast as well. Jesse, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Jesse Beltran. I'm a personal trainer. I've been personal training for about 4 years now, but recently decided to switch over to focusing full time on my marketing agency. It's called Betcha Ventures. We've been open for about 5 months or so. On our third month, we hit five figures, which is our first five-figure month, which is really cool. We have a team of five right now, and yeah, that's really about it.
That's amazing. Yeah. Just to kind of give you guys a background on like how we know each other. Jesse and I have been friends since when? Since it
Dude,
was like 10th grade, high school, something like
yeah,
that.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when we started to become really close. And funny enough, I was actually super into business. I was always like kind of set onto entering the medical field, but particularly interested in as well on the business side. I know we opened up like our first pressure washing business. We tried to do a social media marketing agency. We did a lot of stuff that summer. I remember that summer. That was
Yeah.
funny, but I feel like it was super eye-opening, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about later. But now to kind of introduce what the podcast is. So the podcast has like three main pillars. That's kind of the way we wanted to structure it. And those are based off like our own experiences. So the first pillar would be the pre-med experience. So like I mentioned, I'm a pre-med student. So I'm here to share any advice, any tips, something that's worked for me. So I hope it will also work for you guys. And then I'll also want to talk about things that haven't worked for me, to make sure that, you guys don't have to go through this, or go through what I had to go through and fail or whatnot. And so I just wanted to kind of put that disclaimer out that because I'm a freshman, I'm a pre-med freshman, by no means am I saying to go do something. I'm just kind of sharing the experiences that I've had, and I'm hoping to grow with y'all, as well.
Cool.
And so that's kind of the first part of that pre-med experience. The second, like little sub part of it would be we'll be having speakers, hopefully routinely to come on the podcast and to kind of share their own experience and their advice and tips. And so these speakers would be medical students, doctors, surgeons, and so forth. Sometime in the near future, I'm currently talking to a student that I know, who is a medical student at Harvard. So we're hoping to have him join just to kind of give you guys like that future glimpse. Because at the same time, like we could talk. Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong. Like we could talk, but like having a like an actual
Yeah.
expert, at least for the pre-med side of it, is like super beneficial to not only you guys but to me as well, since we're all learning. And then the second pillar, Jesse, I'll go ahead and let you talk a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, so the second pillar is going to be like lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really about structuring your whole life around going to this
Right.
field. Because for things like becoming a doctor, becoming a lawyer, starting your own business, it's not like a side hustle. You really have to put every ounce of your time into it. And
Yeah.
the last pillar of this podcast will be mindset, right? We know what we physically need to do, like the habits, but how do we train our brain to actually be able to keep ourselves accountable to these habits, and how are we able to get through those hard times where we think it's just too much for us, and what's the right
Yeah.
just view on life that we have to be able to pursue
Definitely.
these really hard goals.
Yeah, and that's something, I mean, because we know each other personally, that I feel like that's
Yeah.
not something we were very strong at, like in our high school years. I think that that's something we've definitely built up,
Mhm.
that's like allowed us to be where we are today.
Yeah.
And then kind of on the other pillar that I wanted to mention would be like med talks that we're going to be having. So, Jesse and I, we love to do research. We love to learn about new things, specifically related to like the medical field. Like Jesse mentioned, he was a personal trainer, so he knows a lot of like about the sports med, like physiology, aspect of medicine, and so he'll definitely have an amazing word to share with that as well. And so we'll also be routinely talking about like cool research that we found, um, different things like sleep, so forth, and kind of going into the actual like nitty gritty of it, which we'll do later on in future podcasts. So now that you guys know a little bit about who we are and a little bit about kind of what the podcast entails, Jesse, I think it would be really cool if we could talk about how we got to where we are today. Now, since high school was a couple months ago for us, almost less, what was it, like a year ago,
6 months or a year,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it'd be pretty nice to kind of talk about our high school journey to where we
Yeah.
are today for this session, to kind of like let the people know about how we made those like life change goals, like those changes and so forth, and kind of what
Yeah.
our mindset going into where we are today is. So I'll let you go ahead and take it off on how were you in high
Yeah.
school? Yeah,
Yeah. So high school is a fun journey, man. So
right, right.
a lot of young people, right? And there's this huge like expectancy when you're a senior to like know exactly what you want to do, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's really important that to not, and contrary to popular belief that you need to have one thing and then go all in that one thing, which I agree with, but when you're so young, like this is the time to make mistakes and try out new things and see what really works
exactly.
for you. So I think for me and Parsa, it was really about experimenting and
Yeah,
just getting our toes wet and figure out what works for us. So that's why, like he was saying, we started like random things. We started a social
yeah.
media marketing agency. We started a pressure washing business.
I remember
I
that.
started
Yep,
a
yep.
nonprofit using a personal training app. Like we did all these things, which for the most part, except for the personal or the pressure washing business, absolutely failed. And that is okay. Like
Yeah,
people have such an anxiety about starting something because they're afraid of failure. And your goal isn't success when you're first starting out. Your goal is to figure out what are the lessons that we can pull from our failures and have more experience so that when we go to actually start something, like for in Parsa's case, committing to med school, we have that backbone and those lessons that we can apply to the new thing we're pursuing once you finally
yeah,
have that thing that you know to go
definitely.
for. So yeah,
Yeah, and I love how you put that, like getting your, what did you say again? Getting your
getting your
feet wet,
toes
right?
wet.
Getting your toes wet. And then
Yeah.
I really like how you phrase that because for me, like the biggest thing in high school was doing exactly that, getting experience. And that's the biggest thing that I can also advise for any high school students who are going into college and thinking about like anything pre-med. Pre-med is like it's very demanding and you need to put a lot of time and energy into it. Um, and so I guess like one of the cool things that I'm really grateful I did was getting experience and trying the things out that I wanted to try out, past pre-med. For example, like I mentioned earlier, I was really into business and I was thinking about starting my own business sometime, and kind of like stepping away from that pre-med aspect of it and maybe still wanting to go into the medical field, of course, but like more into like the business side of it. And I like picked up some sales representative jobs, like Jesse mentioned, we did some kind of little startups here and there. And although it was fun, like doing it with Jesse, um, I don't know if I like really found my passion or calling into doing actually business. And I just, maybe I knew that in the back of my head, but it just kind of gave me the security and the confidence that, okay, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. I do want to go into medicine. So I had that experience with business, and that's how I was able to find out that it's not necessarily my cup of tea. And then secondly, I also advise you guys if you do like pre-med to also get some experiences in pre-med as well, to see if you like that. So I worked as an intern at a lab, to kind of get the research aspect of it. I also worked at another intern at High Sierra AHEC where with I was kind of dealing with policy and CTWs. And then I was also shadowing an orthopedic surgeon, which I did for like in clinic and in surgery as well. And it's when I like shadowed in surgery where like I totally fell in love with what I wanted to do. And it was just like it was just the most amazing thing. Like a lot of people were telling me like, "Hey, what's gonna happen? Like, are you gonna pass out or anything?" And like from the first cut, like I was just like super into it. Like we were making jokes in the OR. Like it was amazing. Um, it was a great atmosphere. It was a great environment, and it's like something that I really wanted to be a part of. And then also just like talking to patients or kind of like seeing the interaction, moreover between like doctor and patient was like super critical for me. So I know like Jesse and I like have like I guess flipped experiences where I didn't have like my cup of tea wasn't business. If you want to mention Jesse, kind of your experience with kind of starting out with these
Yeah.
business oriented things, yeah, please
Yeah. So,
list the long things of things that you've done. Yeah,
oh my gosh, I've done a lot of things that did
yeah.
not work, like I said. I started selling like little game stuff, online digital products on Discord. And I was 13. I was making like 50 bucks a day. I thought I was rich. And I blew it all on Fortnite. Yeah, so that I feel like ever since I was a kid, once I found out I could make money like online, that
Yeah,
was a huge driver for me. And since then, I just kept trying new things to try to figure out how to do it. And I think that's such an important thing is like Parsa did, testing new things, figuring out what works for him. And he does want to become a surgeon, but I know like in the future he wants to own his own practice. So he's going to have all those skills that he's built up with trying to start new businesses and learning the pains and
yeah,
struggles and the ins and out of it, and be
yeah,
able to apply a dual skill set to what he does in his future. And I feel like there's a lot of people who go into things who don't differentiate themselves and they focus on one thing. And I mean, the med world is very competitive. So the more you're able to differentiate yourself and show that you're able to think out the box, I think that's very powerful. And especially like the lifestyle skills and the mindset skills that you learn from pursuing entrepreneurship. He's able, like every single day, this man is an absolute workaholic. He only spends his time in the library. Like he's able to take that mindset that he was using for business and apply it to his med life. So
yeah.
yeah.
Um, I also wanted to kind of like get your thoughts on this. I know in high school, because we knew each other personally, we were definitely not as, I guess what's the new word that's going on? Like locked
Locked
in.
in,
There we
locked
go.
in.
Yeah. As locked in or as focused as we are. And I feel
Mhm.
like at this point it's become more of a passion and an obsession with what we want to do because we love it so much. And it's not like, oh, like I have to do this. It's more, yes, I get to do this. So I guess I want to get your talk because I know Jesse, like Jesse mentions, yes, I love to work, but Jesse also loves to work, just as much as me. I think most of the time, like if he's not sleeping or eating or doing something, he's doing his work. Like he's always working on his business. And I feel like that's very reflective on how far your business has gotten, like especially being so young. Like you have five people working under you. So I guess talk to me a little bit about like how that switch happened, what you went through, and so forth. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so my approach, and I think this applies to any big goal, is look at the top 1% of people
Yeah,
that are doing what you want to do, and then think to yourself, how do I get their habits? How do I replicate what they do? And what aren't they doing that I can do? That's the exact model that I applied to myself when pursuing business. And I think you could probably do the same thing. The only harder part is that in the med world, not as many people talk about the process. There's obviously a few people, so I'd recommend like looking into like influencers or people that talk about their lifestyle and how they got to be a successful surgeon or whatever it is, and try to figure out like what was their mindset, what were their habits, what didn't they do, and try to apply it to your own life. And like I said, I did it for my business, and we were able to see crazy growth that most agencies, especially being an 18-year-old, haven't seen before. And looking at Parsa, like what he's done for himself, starting this podcast in of itself, right? The amount of research he's done into other people and opportunities that he could take advantage of is just crazy. So that's what I'd say was the biggest thing for me when trying
yeah,
to pursue this stuff.
yeah. And I think like you can kind of hear it in, a little bit of in our voices. Whatever you guys get into, like especially with pre-med, since this is more like pre-med oriented, but this is really a general note. The reason like we're so happy to be doing all these different things and putting our time into this is because we're passionate. And so before you get into like when you're really thinking about, do I really want to do pre-med? And like I said, like I mentioned before, you have so much time in college as well. Like you have your freshman year to figure it out, you have sophomore year, and then that's kind of when you need to start picking up and really picking what you want to do. Um, I mean, I know people who kind of figured it out junior year and they take gap years and so forth. So you have a lot of time. But I guess whatever you want to do, just make sure you guys are very passionate about it because once you figure out your passion, and like the passion that you have aligns with your goals and your values, it makes like everything so much easier. Like, it makes like your brain a map to the future. And like that's what happened for me. Um, and that's kind of what I figured out like in college. Like that was something that happened to me freshman year. High school, kind of the things that I regret not doing. I feel like I should have done a lot more research on because I was like pre-med oriented. I should have done a lot more research onto what being pre-med meant. I feel like I figured all of this stuff out, or I'm still trying to figure it out freshman year. And so it took a little bit more energy or a lot more energy to like figure out what my plan was, what to do, how to get there, and so forth. And I'm still trying to figure it out. But I feel like I would have definitely been a little bit more comfortable if I kind of did that in my high school career. And then also, my other thing is make sure you guys get your experiences, like we mentioned. Um, yeah, Jesse, do you have any other things to mention from
Well, I think
high
you
school?
said an interesting thing there.
Yeah.
Um, it was like in high school, you were trying to figure things out. And exactly you regretted from high school, right? And you were saying you wish you looked into what being a medicine actually means, right? And you're just figuring it out right now.
Yeah.
And that's something like I wish I did better as well. Like I noticed that I was chasing the end result, which was making money, right? And shocker, it didn't work, right? Instead of trying to figure out like the quick path to my goal, I wish I would have focused on learning the actual skills that it takes to get to that goal. And a skill that really goes into any industry, and especially in the med school or med area, and the college life, I think is
Hmm.
like mindset and lifestyle and habits and things like that. And that's when I
Yeah.
noticed a really big switch is when I started focusing on learning from people like Andrew Huberman. He's a Stanford psychologist professor. And so when I started looking into that, it really made those skills really made its way into the skill set. So I think starting with the lifestyle and habits was really the big game changer. Or what's your experience with that, Parsa?
Yeah. I'd also have to agree. I think the other thing that really helped me was friend group. Uh, Friend group is incredibly important to me. And the reason for that is because I've seen a lot of studies um, that have mentioned that the type of
The
people that you're around are reflective of who you are. I think there was like this study. I'm not going to be like 100% sure if I'm getting the numbers right, but like when you spend time or doing work with someone who's not as productive, your own productivity like goes down, or compared to if you're spending some time with someone who is productive, like your productivity shoots up. So I think that's like super reflective on who you are, and like that's why I keep I guess like my friends like really close and like very small. Like I know what people like Jesse, even though like we're on different paths, he's on the more entrepreneurial side. Obviously, I'm more on the medical side. Like we have so much in common with like like life goals, life changes, and stuff like that that we're able to like grow with each other. And I think that's
Mhm.
another thing that's really helped me get to where I am today. Make sure you guys like a big thing is try to find your community. Like
Mm.
obviously in high school, a lot of people are going to leave. Try to stick to those people. If they leave like a really big impact on you, or you can see them growing with you. And then when you get into college, something that like I'm really happy I did was I got involved very quickly on like so many different things on campus, which is why I was able to figure out and start kind of like planning my journey. Because, for example, I joined the pre-med frat, is what we're called, the professional fraternity. And so a lot of people on there are applying to medical school. They're already going through the things that I've gone through. So like listening and hearing things that they've done allowed me to kind of put into perspective on what I need to do, where I'm at, and so forth. And so that gave me a lot of clarity. Like Jesse mentioned, like being able to take people who are above you, and then also like doing it a little bit. Wait, what's up? And then also doing it kind of following their footsteps as well is super, super important. What do you think, Jesse?
No, yeah, like 100%. I think a big thing is like accountability. If you have a friend that's pushing you to do things that don't get you close to your goals, right? Nowadays, with how competitive it is, those are a huge liability, in my
Yeah, for
opinion.
sure.
And it may be like a controversial take, but I think surrounding yourself around people that make you a better person and get you close to your goals is not like an option anymore, it's a necessity. And I think it's very important, especially with all the temptations that college brings, to make
Yeah,
sure you're surrounding yourself with people that get you close to those goals. And like having Parsa as a friend, right? Without Parsa, the only person holding me accountable is myself. And there's a
definitely. Yeah.
certain level of
And
danger
that's
that can
also
come.
very important too, as that like
Correct.
make sure you guys are also keeping yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why having someone like Parsa, who's an absolute workaholic and only spends his time in the library learning, is so important. Because if I'm ever feeling like, oh, I should take an off day, and he FaceTimes me and I see him in the library, I'm like, shit, I gotta get to work and get back on track. So it's really nice having those friends. They really keep you
Oh,
on track to what your goals are. And
definitely.
yeah, I think that's a very good, strong thing to have. And it's a little lonely, obviously, because you don't have as big as a friend group, and you may outgrow some people. But you have to really, if they're really your friend, they want the best for you. And if they see that you needing the right people around you gets close to your goals, I think it's necessary to make
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
hard decisions.
And Jesse and I don't even live in the same state anymore. So
Yeah.
like it kind of shows like comes to show that you can make like connections last if you really want to. And I think that's really important. So kind of like to summarize like any advice that I've had, like I wish I would have looked a little bit more about into what it meant, what it means to be a medical student, to kind of like this whole journey or this pre-med journey, what it entails. I'm glad I got some experiences. I wish I would have done a little bit more, to kind of get my to really understand what it truly means to get into the medical field or like as a job potentially, like not only in work but in life as well. Um, so that those are like my two biggest things, and then kind of just understand on. Oh, also the other thing is figure out a way to study. That's my other
Yeah.
thing. Figure out a good routine for yourself. I think that's the better way to put it.
What's your
Not
best
necessarily to
study
study.
hacks?
Yeah, yeah. My best, I'll talk. There's like a whole science behind this, so I definitely want to talk about that in another session. But one of the biggest things that helps me just kind of to throw it in there. I love to go on the board and to act like I'm explaining or like trying to teach someone. That's super helpful for me. Like if I'm able to go on the board and act like I can teach it, I know it. And then if I don't, like I know where the gaps are and I can fill it in. And there's like a whole science like behind that, like research and everything. So I think that'd be cool to talk about later. But that's definitely my advice for high school students. Like make sure you like try to get a routine, get your feet wet, like try to get into these experiences, like Jesse mentioned before, um, and like really do trial and error. Like it's okay to fail. We've all failed so many times, and you don't learn unless you fail. That's another thing that I've learned. So yeah, Jesse, any
Yeah,
like
no,
last advice, last tips that you want to give people like in coming out from high school, like either
yeah.
college or not? Yeah.
Coming out from high school? Yeah. So for coming out from high school, it's kind of like a big hit in the face. Like you gotta figure things out and really pick your path, right? So I really recommend like getting start compartmentalizing everything that you do and then think, how do I make that as efficient as possible? To a point where it's almost like creepy, right? And when I mean like details, it's like have a routine for sleep, have a routine for how you study, have guard walls up for not communicating with people while you're doing work so you're focused, right? All of these little things may seem little, but they add up tremendously. Like a very big definer of how successful somebody is how focused they're able to become. And by cutting out all of those distractions, you're able to get to your goal quicker. And the reason getting to your goal quicker is important is because, and especially being in the med space, it is so competitive. So if you are not getting to your goal as quick as possible, there are people that are going to be outdoing you and getting there first and getting that position that you want and getting the opportunities that you want. And you will miss out on them if you don't optimize every little part of your life. And that may seem extreme, but you're in an extreme field. If you're going for any big goals, these are not an option. So that is the biggest thing I could say to people is cut out distractions, optimize every little part of your life, and continue to improve, right? There's a saying by Alex Hormozy, if you never stop and you're always improving, it is impossible to fail, which is so, so true. So yeah, that's the biggest advice I give to
Yeah.
anybody trying to pursue any big goal.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of add on to that. Like, it's really important to be focused. And something that I've learned, like, through my own experiences is that when I'm the most efficient, I have the most time for myself because I'm able to get all my work done. And I think it's super important. Like, even if like you don't have 100% like work-life balance, I think it's super important to have a little bit of a balance. Like whether that's going to the gym, that's what I do. When I'm not working, I'm in the gym, or I'm talking to Jesse. It's like one of those two things. And I think I have the like most amount of time and I can really dedicate myself to those times when I'm not doing work when I'm the most efficient,
Yeah.
when I get all my work done. And I just feel better at the end of the day. And then the second thing I wanted to add on is that being like because pre-med is super competitive and it's very cutthroat. So meaning people are always like trying to gatekeep or to like there's a common like conception of people are trying to come at you or like competing with you. And although that is true, I think it's really important to understand what it really means to get into the medical field. The whole point of the pre-med journey is to get into a position where you're able to work with others and help them, not to like compete with others. So then like, you know what I mean? Like not to compete
Yeah.
with others and to not be able to help, and not, no, sorry, not have that as a priority, helping others. So I think one of the other things that helps me, and especially at Santa Clara, like they have this sort of environment, like competition is very important. Like that's what really drives us to like become the best we can be. But at the same time, another really important thing is that we're a community and that we're here for each other, and that helps us build um, to become the best ourselves, like best selves.
Yeah.
So that's my other biggest thing. Like, don't be cutthroat. Don't be all this. Don't be that. Obviously, be aware that people are like that. Be competitive, but moreover, like build a community and like help that community to grow. Because at the end of the day, that's the whole point of medicine. That's the whole point of business. I feel like you're working with a group of people to help another group of people.
Yep.
And you need to have those values of, being passionate, being kind, being compassionate, empathetic, and so forth. And those are really important to like kind of build and really understand what that means. Um,
Mhm.
and so that's why when I see like a lot of like people who are like super cutthroat, like in college about like any of their majors, like I mostly see people who are not cutthroat and who are happy to share their own experiences, their own advice, like we're doing today, who are the ones that succeed because they build that community and they're able to grow with each other. So I think that's super important.
No,
I think,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's all I have um, right now. Jesse, if you have anything else you want to add,
Yeah, last thing is like the importance of, I'd say, community, having those people around you, right?
yeah,
Like right now, I'm trying to get into a community of really young people that start agencies, like marketing agencies, and they're all doing 40K plus a month. And the one connection I have into the community, he's doing 320K a month, and he's 22, right? And like to put it in perspective, if you're able to surround yourself with people that are ahead of you and where you want to be and that have the same goals as you, it is so hard to fail. Like if I'm in a
yeah,
group of people all doing ridiculous amount of revenue a month, the chances that I don't eventually reach where they're at is very low. So in regards to like the med school life, if you're able to surround yourself with people that are have the same goal of being successful in the field and helping others, then the chances that you will fail are close to zero.
exactly. Be competitive, but don't be cutthroat. Like that's
Yeah.
it's not good. Like have that competitive aspect of you, but like don't have that as a priority. Have more over of building a community as a priority because community is just already just kind of create an atmosphere of competition, but it's healthy and
Yeah.
it helps
There's
you
a
become the
balance.
yeah, it helps you become the best person you can be, and that in turn helps you help more people and help them better, I guess is kind of like how I think about it. Like the
Mhm.
better I can be, the better I can help others.
Mhm.
And so that's like another important thing. So I guess now that we've mentioned like who we are and what the podcast is and kind of like our high school journey, I think we're gonna have like more specific. I know we talked a lot today on like different things. We jumped around, but we just want you guys to kind of get a sense of who we are, and kind of where we came from. We'll be definitely more specialized, more specific on next sessions. But yeah, I think that's all I have
Yeah.
for today. Jesse, how about yourself?
Yeah, that's all I got, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me hop on the MedLife podcast.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a good day.